Hi, we're back again, and we've got a very wonderful guest that we're familiar with because she's on the show before. But it's been a couple of years, so it's wonderful to have her back. And she writes a lot of wonderful books. So I'm going to introduce you to Meisha Macillas, I think.
Macillas.
Macillas. Okay. Anyway, I love you either way.
It's good to see you again.
Yes, it is.
It's been a long time.
I know, and I know that you must have done a lot of work in that time and got a lot of new things to talk about.
Of course. In that time, I wrote Timetopia.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it took me 2.5 years to write.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Is this the science fiction one you're
Yeah,
talking?
this is a science fiction one.
Oh, that should be wonderful.
Oh, yeah, it's a science fiction novel. It's actually a metaphor about how false narratives can shape our societal norm.
My gosh.
It follows around my main character, Ava, and it's going through the utopia. It's a world that is pretty much set in the same time as ours, but a completely different timeline. And so it's a utopia that's controlled by 5 time travelers from 300 years from now.
Oh my gosh.
And so she's going through it thinking that it's this perfect utopia, that everything is amazing there. And she comes quick to find out when she starts being chased by the people that were meant to protect her that she is special to her world and she's not sure why. And that is where Rev, my other main character, comes in, who's from Brooklyn, New York, this very brusque kind of person who's just in your face and very honest and brutal, comes to her timeline. And she's like, how can you be from a place that doesn't exist? And she's like, your timeline doesn't exist. I'm from the real world. I'm from New York.
Oh my
and they
gosh.
travel through together to get answers through this utopia.
Oh my gosh. What did you ever think of that?
It's so funny. So my main characters are actually based on 2 people I know. And one of them is my good longtime friend Janice, who's an actress in LA, and she's just this very sweet, demure, very go-getter personality, but you would think that the world had never done anything wrong to her. She's just such a genuinely sweet person.
Wow.
And the other one is my friend Ashlyn, who's a real ball buster type personality. She takes no names, and she just, is this very direct and driven. They're both very beautiful, driven young ladies, and I just thought, that's what we need. We need heroines that don't need a man to save them, but need a friendship, that bond. And so it just kind of took a life of its own.
Oh my gosh.
They're actually the ones that are on the cover of the book. I got them to do the modeling for it as well.
No kidding?
Yes. Look, that's them right there.
Oh, what a great idea.
Yeah, I got them to do, it took a little bit of convincing. I got Ashlyn to agree to be on the cover. Janice, of course, she loved the idea and she loved how much the character was like her, so.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Really great. That was a great idea to
Yeah,
use
no,
them.
I definitely took some finagling on that one. But it came out beautiful. It was exactly what I wanted it to be, a very strong moment for them. So I really loved the way that the book came out. And, I get a lot of questions, is it fantasy or sci-fi? And, I think people get it very confused with fantasy because it is set in a different realm than ours, in a different timeline, but it's completely science fiction. Nobody has magic. It's all based on technology and where it went in the future and how they went back to stop certain technologies from being born.
Oh, wow.
And how these time travelers control everything. It's not a democracy. It's very controlled setting. And you're not allowed to speak to anybody outside of your town unless it's in a wellness center where they can monitor what's being said.
Wow.
In the story, Ava talks about her grandmother who she's never met, never seen a picture of, but lives on the other side of Timetopia. And so that's kind of where her journey is, to find her mother, or her grandmother. Once her mother throws her in a van and tells her, you need to find her, go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's something like that to me would be really difficult. It take a lot of time because it's so deep.
Yeah. I wanted it to be a little bit of a over-dramatization of the world that we live in today. And I wanted people to read it and think, wow, this isn't really that different. I mean, we live in such an interesting time. And I think that, with that being said, we live in an amazing time for knowledge. We have the internet, which changed the game on
Oh
everything.
gosh,
And
yes.
it's incredible what's at our fingertips, that you can literally just type in something and find out. But with that being said, what you find out isn't always true. And
That's true.
yeah,
Yes.
with so much false narratives being pumped into the internet and social media, and people believing that false narrative, and then I have been in bars and stuff where people talk about how America is the first great democracy. And I look at them and I said, Rome was the first great democracy, like ours. At least that we have history of. Because,
Yes,
there could have
yes.
been tribes, Incas, that had the same or similar things to ours. And they were like, Rome with the gladiators? And it drove me nuts that you have all of this information and you didn't know something as basic as that. And I just, I didn't know what to say. And I thought, people know about the gladiators because of books and movies. What if I gave them a story to make them want to learn more about the world around them?
That's why I was wondering what your the first thought about what got you go on this line of thinking.
Yeah, I just I wanted a story to over dramatize the lack of knowledge that she has because of the controlled surrounding that she's in, and how almost lucky we are to be able to learn anything that we want. Now, obviously, it creates some controversy with my story and people thinking certain things, but without controversy, without that open dialogue of conversation, we can't learn.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Everybody fought for their right to have the knowledge to be able to learn, and then now we just take it for granted.
I know we do, and we have so much on our plate. It's just amazing.
It's so, like I said, such an incredible time to be a part of, but also very different. So, I speak to my family all the time about that. And
Really?
Yeah, because my grandma worked in the fields. She wasn't allowed to finish school, and, she went back later, but it's incredible that I got to go to school through high school without anybody pulling me out to work in the fields, or, without anyone stopping me.
Nobody thinks of that.
And yeah, and it's crazy because that wasn't too long ago. Like, that was what, 40, 60 years ago, which in the grand scheme of things really isn't a long time. And, 46 years from now, what's going to be different? And I really wanted this book to focus on how bad things got because of how complacent people became, and how greed and
Greed. That's the killer.
of course,
Oh
greed
boy.
and pride became our own destruction in the future. So these time travelers, through the story, it does talk a little bit about the time that they came from, and it talks a little bit about the destruction that came to be and the end of times that they had faced. So it is a little dystopian in the fact that it touches on it, but that's not what the book is about. Not this one, at least.
No.
So this is going to be one in a series.
Now, what really was the first thought about this that would bring you to write a book?
So this book started, honestly, my main character, although I wrote it after my friend Janice, once the character started to develop, she wasn't the original inspiration for the main character. It was an old coworker of mine's curly hair. I was, yeah, this is, she had this beautiful, just big, dark, curly hair. And she was this gorgeous girl, like my friend Janice. She's very beautiful. And she sat next to me, and I thought a whole character should be written around just your beauty. And she is a very sassy person. I actually ended up writing her character as the mother of Ava in the story because she just had such personality and so much sass that I was like, there's no way you can't be in this book. And she started the main idea of the look,
Oh, good.
that I wanted, that, beautiful, you're not always sure what they are, like, multi look. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I just knew what I wanted. So she was the main thing. At that time is when President Trump originally started. He announced that he was going to run, and there was so much controversy around him and how he was going about it. And there was so much false narrative being spread.
Oh, that's for sure.
And I thought, God, we live in this time of free information, and we believe so much false narrative that nobody really focuses on what matters, like what, what's really going on, the real issues. People are so focused on, oh, well, this person said this and this person said that and they wore this, and it wasn't about the issues at hand. Is this person going to be a good president because they care about the people? Is this person going to be a good president because they know finances? And with all the struggles that we were in, and I thought, how could they be so focused on so many other things that nobody's asking what tomorrow's really going to bring?
Yeah,
And so I decided to create a world that was controlled, a very controlled world by people who had seen the destruction of greed, by people who had lived in a world that false narratives, propelled other people into places they shouldn't have been. And I really just wanted to focus on her naiveness, her innocence.
Yes.
Because there were a time that was us.
That's for sure.
And, when they started saying, make America great again, America was founded on knowledge, on the exploration of knowledge. And, although I think that we live in a time where there's so much capability for change, I feel like there's fear in that. There's a fear in caring about the neighbor again.
I think everybody's afraid now.
Yeah, it's such, afraid of offending, afraid of, not understanding. But, are we really taking that time to have enough knowledge about somebody else's culture, enough knowledge about somebody else's upbringing to not offend? We can't be afraid. We have to change and have an open dialogue about things. Mm-hmm. And just because somebody has a different opinion than you doesn't make it offensive. It makes it different. And we forget that with different upbringings comes different opinions.
That's for sure. Definitely.
So I brought two people from polar opposites, Rev from Brooklyn, New York, a very different hustle bustle, that kind of a lifestyle, to Timetopia, which is a very innocent place about doing what's best for thy neighbor, about doing what's best for the community, but is also about stifling information. And I wanted to really highlight those differences and their strengths at that.
That's fabulous, because it's really true, and it's when you recognize there's something that you're doing that you hadn't noticed what you were doing, it's a big change in your life.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted Timetopia to be. I wanted it to start an open dialogue for people.
That is great.
And this one, like I said, is the first in a series. I'm currently working on the second book, and it's way harder to write a second book. Timetopia just flowed. I was just like, wow.
I wrote, mine is 4.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a four-part series?
4-book.
Yeah. I want Timetopia to be 4 parts, but we'll see where it takes me. Because I envision Timetopia ending completely different than what it actually did. Because once those characters take a life of their own, you can't betray them. You can't change their character arc. You kind of got to follow it so it seems true to form. Just like life. Life never goes as planned. But that's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it fun and interesting. You wake up every day and you're like, this is not what I planned for today, but this is a great story to tell tomorrow.
Yeah, it is wonderful to just wake up and know that you're free to do what you want to do, go where you want to go. It's such a blessing that people hardly recognize.
Yeah, and I think that I wanted to change that, and the best way to change that is in an art form. That's how most things got started. That's
true. It's true. And reading, of course, is so valuable to us. And it's a shame that a lot of people don't read today, but maybe we catch them in one little book could make them start reading more.
I hope so. That's the dream.
Because we want to sell them. Yeah, so you can gladly sell them.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon right now. It's just the paperback. I am going to be releasing the ebook probably around Christmas time. So
that'll be perfect. That'll be perfect time.
Either that or at the new year, because I'm trying to work some things out. I'm also trying to see about doing a tour next year. Nothing big, just small, you know, maybe start in California, go visit Florida, because I do miss all my friends and people out there.
Oh, yes.
And then, you know, just seeing what I can do with it.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, so keep your eye out. I might be at a city near you.
Well, tell them know where they get the books right now.
It is available on Amazon, and it is that's the only place it's really available. And then if I go on tour, it'll be available wherever I go.
That's great. That's great. Well, that's very easy. You have no problem. You know, just go on Amazon. You get the book.
Yeah.
Okay, honey. Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much
having me. It was great to be here again.
Oh, it's good to see you, and I'm just so thrilled with that book. Okay, and you come in again.
Of
Don't
course.
Don't wait 2 years. Come on.
I know. I'm so sorry. I was so busy. I was working
know.
on this.
I know, and yeah, that's why instead of being here, that book was born.
Yeah.
Okay, honey. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back.